Most people imagine pirates as carefree rogues, gold in their pockets, rum in their bellies, and songs on the wind. The truth? Life aboard a real pirate ship is hunger, punishment, and a horizon that can turn on you without warning. There's no guarantee you'll see tomorrow. No promise of treasure. Just survival. That's the life you're about to step into. Before we begin, if you truly enjoy these stories, hitting like or subscribe helps me keep making them, and hopefully helps you keep drifting off. Let me know where you're listening from tonight. I'm always amazed by the places people tune in. Now, get comfortable, take a slow breath in, and let it out. Because once this story begins, chances are you'll be asleep before it ends. Now, let's begin. Congratulations. You've just woken up on the deck of a pirate ship, not in some swashbuckling movie or children's cartoon, but on the real thing. Salt-eaten timbers, reeking canvas, and the kind of smell that makes you instantly question every life choice that led you here. And tonight, the horizon looks wrong. The wind is shifting, and every sailor on board feels it. A storm is coming. A storm that might test whether you live to see another dawn. At first, you don't notice. The day begins almost like the one before. You're shaken awake by the bosun's mate. No alarm clocks, just a calloused hand on your shoulder and the command to rise and move. Your back aches from the deck boards. Your stomach churns from another night of grog that wasn't quite watered down enough. And your head throbs with the memory of half-remembered songs shouted far too close to your ear. It's the pirate version of a wake-up call, and there are no refunds. The air, however, feels different. Cooler, heavier, like the sky is holding its breath. You blink against the morning light, filtering through ragged clouds, and you notice the sea itself doesn't sparkle the way it did yesterday. It rolls with a sluggish weight, as though even the ocean knows something's brewing. Superstition spreads through the crew faster than scurvy. A one-eyed deckhand mutters about devil's weather. Another swears he saw St. Elmo's fire flickering along the rigging in the night. A young boy, no more than 14, pressed into service as a powder monkey, clutches a bit of wood carved into a crude cross. Everyone's got their charms, their rituals, their whispered prayers, because when the sea turns against you, no cutlass or pistol is going to help. You're ordered to swab the deck again, a punishment or just routine, it's hard to tell. Your knees burn from the rough planks, your hands blister around the worn-down mop handle. Salt water sloshes into every scrape you've collected so far, and the sting makes you grit your teeth. The work never ends, because the ship never stops needing it. And still, the crew keeps glancing up, toward the sails, toward the clouds, toward the line where sea meets sky. Lunch, if you can call it that, is more hardtack. You've learned to check each biscuit for weevils before biting in. Not because it bothers anyone else. Most pirates eat the bugs along with the bread without a second thought. Protein, they joke, but you're not quite ready to cross that threshold of despair. So you scrape away what you can and chew the chalk-dry biscuit until your jaw aches. Then you wash it down with a ladle of brackish water that tastes faintly of the barrel it came from. That's when you notice the rat, a scrawny thing, ribs visible, whiskers twitching as it darts along the edge of the galley hatch. At first, it's just another reminder of how little separates you from vermin on this ship. But then the whispers begin. Rats fleeing the hold mean bad luck. Sometimes it means a storm. Sometimes it means worse. You don't believe it, not really. But when you see the cook himself make the sign of the cross as the rat scurries past, you realize it's not just you who feels uneasy. The captain calls the men together near the mainmast. His voice is steady, but his eyes keep flicking toward the clouds gathering in the west. Storm on the rise, he growls. We'll reef the sails, double the lashings, and any man caught slacking will be kissing the cat by sunset. The cat. You've learned by now what that means. The cat o' nine tails, 9 cords of tarred rope, each one knotted and designed to shred skin like paper. The thread is enough to make even the laziest pirate scramble to obey. So you climb, up the rigging, hands raw on the ropes, muscles trembling as the mast sways beneath you. The higher you go, the more the wind whips at your clothes, tugging at your balance, daring you to slip. Below, the deck looks small, almost fragile. The sea stretches out in every direction, a flat gray sheet under a sky growing darker by the hour. Your task is simple: tie down, reef, secure. Your body, however, disagrees. Every knot takes forever. Every rope feels twice as heavy as it should, and every moment the thought gnaws at you. If you fall, there's no safety net. Just water, waves, and the certainty you'll be left behind. When you finally descend, arms burning, lungs heaving, you're ordered straight into another chore. Haul barrels from the hold. Check the lashings around the cannons. Make sure nothing loose will become a missile when the ship begins to roll. It's the kind of work that leaves no room for thought, just sweat and repetition. And maybe that's the point, because if you stop to think about the black wall of clouds creeping closer across the sea, you might freeze entirely. The bosun stomps by, whip in hand, shouting at 2 men who dared pause for breath. He doesn't strike them, not yet. But the lash whistles in the air as a promise. You know by now that discipline here is absolute. No one cares about exhaustion. No one cares about fear. If the captain says lash, you lash. If he says climb, you climb. And if he says fight, you fight. Even if it means your blood spills across the planks like so many before you. By late afternoon, the sea has changed. No longer sluggish. It heaves now. Great rolling swells that make the ship groan and creak like a living creature in pain. The horizon disappears behind sheets of rain. The air tastes of iron and electricity, and your heart beats faster with every gust of wind that rattles the rigging. Dinner is abandoned. There's no time for pottage or biscuits when the sky itself looks ready to split open. Instead, you grab a chunk of salted meat with your teeth while still working the lines, half chewing, half choking, as you struggle to keep up with shouted orders. The meat is tough, almost impossible to swallow, but it's all you'll get before the storm hits. Night falls early, swallowed by clouds so thick the moon might as well not exist. The lanterns are lit, their flames guttering in the wind, but they throw more shadows than light. The world becomes a blur of black shapes, wet ropes, and slick plank. The rat appears again, darting across your path before vanishing into the darkness. Someone spits over the side and mutters about omens. You can't argue. You feel the dread too, coiling tighter with every crash of waves against the hull. Then the first real squall hits. Rain lashes down, cold needles stinging your face. The sails snap like thunder, and men scramble to hold them fast. You're thrown against the rail as the ship lists, water flooding across the deck, soaking you to the bone. Your fingers scrabble for a rope, any rope, and by some miracle, you hang on. The sea roars around you, and suddenly, every tall tale about angry gods and cursed waters doesn't sound so ridiculous. The captain's voice bellows through the chaos. Hold steady, ride her out, but his words are nearly lost in the howl of the wind. Orders blur together, reef, haul, tie, brace, and you follow more out of instinct than understanding. The ship feels alive beneath you now, bucking and twisting like a beast determined to throw you off. In the madness, punishment still lurks. A sailor too slow on the ropes catches the bosun's whip across his back, the crack sharp as lightning. Even in the face of nature's fury, discipline doesn't falter. You wonder if it's courage or insanity, maybe both. Your muscles burn. Your throat is raw from shouting and salt spray. Your eyes sting, your body shakes, and still the work goes on. Because on a pirate ship, storms don't wait for the weak, and fear won't keep the masts from snapping. Hours blur together. The storm builds, wave after wave pounding the hull, wind shrieking through the rigging like the cries of damned souls. Every lurch of the deck threatens to pitch you overboard. Every crack of thunder feels like the world splitting apart. And yet, you're still here, still clinging, still fighting, still alive. But dawn is a long way off, and the storm is only just beginning. The storm does not ask permission. It does not send an invitation. It simply arrives, loud as judgment, wet as betrayal, and heavy as the end of a conversation you didn't want to have. The first clue is the sky. It presses down like a lid. Gray thickens into black, and then into something beyond color, a bruise that covers the horizon. Kite calls it God's coat turned inside out. No one laughs. Rain starts sideways. It does not fall. It whips like handfuls of nails thrown into your eyes. Your shirt clings instantly, salt and rain fighting over who owns the fabric. Your boots flood in seconds, becoming portable ponds. Burke bellows, orders that vanish under thunder. You do not hear them so much as feel them. The words arrive through his chest, through the deck, through the rope in your hands. The sea has decided volume is hers now. The pump becomes a joke. Water laughs at your effort, pouring in faster than you can persuade it out. Buckets line up like soldiers, filled before they're carried, spilled before they're emptied. The ocean seems intent on moving in permanently. Morrow is still riding. Rain smears the ink, but his quill scratches on like it has a personal grudge. You suspect he is recording your death in neat columns before it even happens. If the sea takes him, it will have to sign a receipt. Kite swings in the rigging, hair plastered, face split with a grin, madder than lightning. He sings again. One line, no chorus. The wind steals it, but his teeth flash white as if he swallowed the sky's fury and found it funny. The ship itself becomes an animal. It bucks, twists, snarls, planks shriek as if regretting every nail. The mast bends farther than wood should ever consider. Every lurch flings you against something that was not designed to be kind. Ropes whip loose. One cracks past your ear, a sound sharper than any sword. A man screams as another rope coils around his leg, yanking him skyward before dropping him like spoiled cargo. He lands wrong. You look away. The rat makes its opinion clear. It races for higher ground, then lower ground, then vanishes entirely. It knows something you don't. Maybe it can swim better. You begin to envy it. Lightning finds the mast. The whole world turns white for a heartbeat. You smell burning pitch, hair, and a hint of cooked ambition. Sparks drizzle down like false stars. Kite cheers, the lunatic. The deck is no longer horizontal. It is a philosophy problem. Sometimes you are climbing a wall. Sometimes you are sliding down one. Every surface is wrong. Every handhold betrays you. Burke shoves you at a rope thicker than your arm. Hold, he roars. You do. Not because you want to, but because the alternative is learning to breathe seawater. The rope groans, the mast groans, you groan. All of you are part of the same choir now. Water slams across the deck in waves that behave like fists, each one colder than regret, heavier than confession. You are drenched beyond description. You could drink your own sleeve. You consider it. A man goes overboard. You see him only in fragments. His hand, then his face, then nothing. The sea swallows him without ceremony. No rope follows, no prayer either. Everyone looks away, like superstition demands ignoring evidence. Your coin is still in your pocket. You check it mid-chaos. It has become a talisman, ridiculous but necessary. As long as the coin remains, maybe you do too. You press it against your thigh and let it bruise hope into your skin. The wind grows teeth. It bites its sails, tearing cloth into banners of surrender. Canvas snaps free, flapping like the wings of a giant bird, determined to leave. Kite leaps after it, knives flashing, cutting loose what cannot be saved. He laughs when the sail nearly drags him into the black. The smell changes. Salt, yes. Pitch, yes. But underneath, iron, blood. Somebody's scalp is open. You do not ask whose. The storm does not care about names. You vomit, everyone does. The deck becomes a mosaic of sick, rain, and despair. Nobody comments. Pirates are equal in misery. Morrow's book is ruined. Ink runs like rivers down the page. Still, he clutches it against his chest, muttering numbers. If he dies, it will be with statistics in his arms. Burke lashes himself to the rail. He ties you next. The rope digs in, but at least it means if you die, you'll die attached to something bigger. The ship itself might become your coffin. You wonder if coffins ever felt seasick. Hours blur. You lose track of time. There is only light, crash, scream, dark. The storm owns the clock now. You are just a second being spent. At some point, the thunder stops scaring you. It's just percussion now. Background music for terror. The real fear is silence. You dread silence more than sound. When it finally comes, it's worse than you imagined. No rain, no wind, just dripping ropes and the groan of wood remembering how to be wood again. The sea still heaves, but without anger, only exhaustion, like a drunk deciding to sleep it off. Bodies are counted, some absent, no speeches. Morrow writes the numbers with shaking hands. Kite hums, quieter now, as if he too respects the math. Burke just spits, as if that's enough ritual. You are alive, you are soaked, bruised, starving, and half deaf. But you are alive, and the storm, like everything else on this ship, has passed without apology. Dawn comes like a rumor, not a fact, a thin gray smear on the horizon. The sea is calmer, but your stomach refuses to believe it. You are still swaying, even when you lie down. No one says the word miracle. No one says blessed. They say nothing at all, because talking tempts the sky to listen. Instead, the crew repairs, patches, pumps, and moves forward. Forward is the only word allowed. You close your eyes for a moment on the wet deck, head against the railing. Sleep tastes like salt and smoke. You drift toward it carefully, like approaching a wild animal. For now, the sea allows it. But tomorrow, that is another argument waiting to happen. And so, you survive the storm, but survival is not the same as safety. The next trial waits already, somewhere in the grey distance. The storm leaves, but it does not apologize. It takes its noise and its fury and moves on, the way a thief leaves an empty room. What it leaves behind is quieter, yes, but not kinder. The ship is no longer a vessel, it is a wound. Planks gape open like split skin. Sails hang in ribbons, torn into banners for no kingdom. The mast leans as if reconsidering the profession of standing. You wake to the sound of hammers, not the clean ring of progress, but the dull, wet thud of desperation. Men crawl across the deck like ants trying to stitch a leaf. Every nail driven is a prayer nailed shut. Your own body is part of the wreckage. Bruises bloom everywhere, colors you didn't know flesh could manage. Salt burns the cracks in your lips. Your stomach has given up on normal complaints and settled into the permanent groan of an empty barrel. Food is counted, and then it is counted again, because no one likes the number. Morrow's ink runs, but the math is still legible. Half the hardtack soaked through. Barrels of salted fish turned into barrels of salted soup. Grain spoiled into mush. He scratches the tally with a quill like a knife. His face says famine, though his lips do not dare. Burke is less diplomatic. He growls loud enough for everyone to hear. Rations cut. Half issue until further notice. No one cheers. No one argues either. Hunger makes its own kind of agreement. Your breakfast is now a crust you could use as a weapon and a swallow of beer thin enough to see through. It scrapes your throat like sandpaper dipped in vinegar. Still, you chew every bite as if it's gold because you don't know when the next will come. Kite does not seem to care. He sings his one-line songs, softer now, half to himself, perched in the rigging as if the storm never happened. Some call him mad, others call him blessed. You are not sure the difference matters. His grin is the same either way. The rat returns. It moves across the deck with the smugness of a survivor. It finds the food before you do. A crumb of hardtack, stolen like tribute. Nobody stops it. It survived the storm. That makes it lucky. And in a world this thin, luck is contagious. Repair becomes religion. Ropes stretched, sails patched, seams tarred. The smell of pitch is everywhere, thick and choking, but more comforting than incense. The ship coughs, groans, but it does not sink. That alone feels like victory. Night falls without ceremony. The sky is clear again, as if it wants to mock you with stars. The same stars sailors swear by, the same stars men hang their faith on. Tonight, they look like nails hammered into the lid of a coffin. You sleep badly. Every creak feels like a warning. Every splash against the hull feels like betrayal. You dream of water swallowing you. When you wake, you taste it still in your throat. By the second day after the storm, tempers fray. A man strikes another over a scrap of bread. Blood is spilled, more precious than wine. Burke beats them both until they resemble the deck more than men. His message is clear. Anger belongs to him alone. Morrow makes notes in his book, not of anger, but of loss. Every injury is a subtraction. Every spoiled ration another minus sign. His ink is steady, though his hand shakes. He does not look at you, but you know he has already written the number you might one day become. Your coin is still there. You touch it constantly, a ritual against collapse. Bent, small, absurd, but it makes you feel less temporary. You imagine it telling you, not yet. On the third day, the smell begins, not of pitch, not of sweat, not of rot, already familiar, something sharper, the body found in the bilge. One of the men washed below during the storm. He did not drown politely. The sea returned him half-used. Burial at sea, a brief prayer in Latin nobody understands. The body slid into water already full of bodies. The splash is small, the silence after even smaller. Superstition takes the wheel now. Men mutter of omens, curses, debts unpaid. Kite whispers that the storm was just the beginning, that the sea will come back hungry. Morrow does not contradict him. Burke tells him to shut his mouth, but even Burke's voice cracks. Work goes on. Hands blister, backs split, eyes squint against sun and salt. You tie knots until your fingers forget their shape. You climb rigging, slick with tar and fear. You learn the ship's language of creaks and sighs. It speaks constantly and always of collapse. The food dwindles, each ration smaller than the last. Water grows stale. Men drink it anyway, coughing after. Small beer tastes like blessing in comparison. Your stomach becomes a clock. It rings on the hour, demanding, though there is nothing left to give. Your bones are sharper than your shadow, your cheeks hollow into caves. Still, you stand when Burke roars, because falling is more dangerous. Night again, the stars too sharp, the sea too quiet. Everyone listens harder to silence than they ever did to thunder. At least thunder told you what it wanted. This stillness tells you nothing, and nothing is worse. You think of land, you think of grass, of mud that doesn't move, of bread that isn't moldy. You think of beds, not soft ones, just dry ones. Dreams become cruel when they show you what you cannot touch. On the fifth day, a sail appears on the horizon, small, distant, white against grey. It could be salvation, it could be doom. Every man stares, silent, holding his breath like it might influence the wind. Burke growls, Morrow writes, Kite laughs, the rat licks its whiskers. You press the coin to your thigh. Whatever comes, you will meet it starving, sore, and still unwilling to die politely. And so, The storm's aftermath settles into a new kind of storm, one of hunger, suspicion, and the thin edge between men and animals. The sea waits, patient. It knows you cannot fight it forever. The storm taught you fear. Hunger teaches you patience. Now, the horizon teaches you suspense. The sail does not grow quickly. It hangs at the edge of sight, a stitch on gray fabric. Every hour, men climb the rigging, squint, swear, argue. Every hour, it remains, larger maybe, but not large enough. Morrow measures distance like it owes him money. He sketches lines in his log, scribbles numbers, frowns until his forehead looks carved from oak. His conclusion: they are not fleeing, they are coming. Burke hears it and spits, then we'll be ready. But even he ties his lashings twice that night. Kite treats it like a lover. He sings to the white triangle on the horizon, as if his voice could draw it closer. His grin has sharpened into something wolfish. The storm didn't break him, it tuned him. The rat ignores the horizon. It gnaws quietly at a scrap of rope, unimpressed with human suspense. Its indifference feels insulting. Work continues, always work. Patching sails, scraping decks, hauling buckets of stale water like it's holy. The ship must look respectable when death arrives, you suppose. The days stretch. The sea turns calm, as though amused by your waiting. Meals shrink further. Half a crust becomes treasure. Beer thins to colored water. Morrow scratches minus signs in his book until the page looks diseased. One night, you hear Kite's voice cut through the dark. Not a song this time, a shout. Lanterns. You scramble to the rail. There, across the black, pinpricks of flame bob like fireflies on water. Lanterns strung across rigging. A ship alive and moving closer. Men mutter prayers and curses in the same breath. Pirates do not often meet friends at sea. Burke gathers the crew. His voice is a hammer. No panic, no waste. Cannons checked, blades sharp, powder dry. If they come for us, they'll choke on us. The cannons groan as they're rolled into position. Powder monkeys scurry, bare feet slapping wet planks. You help haul shot, iron balls heavy enough to crush bone, cold enough to numb your palms. Each one is a promise you hope never to deliver. Morrow records it all, of course. Number of shot, weight of powder, length of fuse. He writes as if the sea is a courtroom, and he will one day be called to testify. The ship approaches slowly, as if savoring your dread. By dawn, its hull is visible. Dark wood, high stern, sails patched like scars. Not a navy vessel, not a trader either. Pirates like you. The men fall silent. It is like looking into a mirror where your reflection has teeth. Kite laughs first. Family reunion, he says, but his hand rests on his knife the whole time. Signals are exchanged, flags, gestures, meanings hidden under ritual. The other ship offers nothing clear, neither peace nor war, just presence. The captain stares long, his jaw tight. Finally, he growls, "We shadow them. Let them speak first." And so begins the dance of distance. Two ships trailing each other across indifferent water, not touching, not parting, like wolves pacing, waiting for one to blink. Days bleed together. The other ship never vanishes, never attacks. It lingers at the horizon, a shadow you cannot shake. Men grow restless. Fights break out over scraps, over space, over the simple act of breathing. Burke's whip sings more often. Backs split open, blood dried into the deck like varnish. You find yourself talking to the coin more often, pressing it into your thigh until it leaves a mark. Not yet, you tell yourself. Not yet. Then, on the fifth night, the lanterns flare again. Closer now, too close. The sea holds its breath. Your ship answers with its own lanterns, each one trembling in the wind. It feels like two beasts showing their teeth in the dark. At dawn, the distance collapses. They are there. Cannons out, crew lined along the rail. Faces lean, eyes bright with hunger, or greed, or both. They look like you. They look worse. The captain steps forward. His voice carries over water like iron thrown in silence. Name yourselves. The reply is laughter, a sound that carries no name, no promise, only hunger. Burke growls. Kite grins. Morrow rides. The rat scurries below. And you grip the rail, coin in your palm, waiting to see whether the horizon delivers death or company. The first cannon does not roar, it coughs, a belch of smoke, a shove of iron across water. The ball skips once, twice, and vanishes into the sea like a stone flung by an impatient child. Both ships pause. Even the wind hesitates. Then the silence tears. The second shot strikes true. Wood splinters. Men shout. The sea erupts with shards and spray. And just like that, the game of distance ends. Fire! Burke bellows. Cannons answer. The deck heaves under each recoil. Smoke wraps the ship like a new storm, this one made of sulfur and thunder. You run shot, iron heavy as despair, rolled forward, rammed home, fuse lit. The smell of powder clings to your lungs, scouring them raw. Each blast feels like it might tear you apart too. Across the water, their deck is chaos. Figures dash, reload, fire, fall. One man cartwheels into the sea, arms flailing, swallowed before you can blink. But they fire back, always back. A ball screams past, crushing railing to kindling. Another hammers into the mast, wood shrieking, canvas collapsing like a dying bird. Then comes the hook. Iron claws hurled through smoke, biting into rail and rope. Lines pulled tight, dragging ship to ship like unwilling dancers. Boarding, someone screams. The word turns every face pale. The crash is body to body, wood grinding wood. Their hull slams yours, teeth into bone. Men leap the gap, blades flashing. The deck becomes a forge, clang of steel, roar of men, scream of pain. Gunpowder smoke and blood steam together until the air itself feels poisoned. Burke is everywhere. His axe falls like punctuation, each swing ending a sentence. He bellows names, curses, promises. Every enemy near him seems smaller, thinner, already broken. Kite dances in the rigging. Knives in both hands, he drops from ropes like a mad bird, slashing, laughing, vanishing upward again. His grin glows even through the smoke, lunatic joy painted across his face. Morrow hides behind a barrel, riding even as blades clash inches away. You cannot decide if he is brave or insane, perhaps both. Ink smears across his pages, numbers blotched with blood not his own. And you? You fight because there is no other verb available. A cutlass shoved into your hand, an enemy already charging. You parry, barely. The shock numbs your arm. He snarls, swings again, and you stumble forward, coin burning in your pocket. By accident or miracle, your blade finds his ribs. He collapses, dragging your stomach with him. The rat skitters past, unfazed, dragging a crumb through blood. The sight nearly makes you laugh. Battle swirls, cannons forgotten now, muskets fired point blank, knives quicker than thought. The deck tilts with the weight of bodies, slick with gore and rain and sweat. A pirate lunges at you, face twisted, teeth missing. You shove, slip, nearly fall. The rail catches your back. For one terrible heartbeat, the sea yawns below, hungry. Then Burke's axe cleaves the man away. Blood spatters your cheek. Burke doesn't even glance at you. Grapples tighten. The ships are locked now, too close to flee. It is slaughter or survival. You see their captain finally, a tall man with hair like rope and eyes like coins hammered flat. He bellows through the chaos, voice steady, blade sharp. His presence is a nail pinning the fight together. Your own captain meets him. The two collide mid-deck, steel ringing, men parting as if the sea itself had ordered silence. The duel is brutal, not elegant. Cuts, slashes, boots slipping in blood. Each man too stubborn to fall. Each strike heavier than the last, as though they swing with the weight of their crew's lives. Around them, men drop, Screams punctuate the fight like drums. Cannon smoke lingers low, a choking fog. The smell is unforgettable. Salt, iron, sulfur, death. Kite perches above, shouting commentary like a mad bard. Morrow writes still, muttering odds, as if betting against his own survival. Burke bleeds from one shoulder, but keeps swinging, his axe painting the planks red. The other captain presses forward, blade flashing near your own throat. You're close enough to see his teeth grit, sweat in his beard. Then your captain twists, feints, and drives steel home. The man staggers, gasps, collapses. Silence follows, brief, shocked, electric. Then chaos surges back. The death of a captain does not end men instantly, but it bends them. You see it, the doubt, the hesitation. Your crew presses harder. Burke roars like thunder. Kite sings louder. Even Morrow allows himself a grim smile. The enemy breaks, not all at once. Some fight to the last, blades flashing hopelessly. Others drop weapons, hands raised, voices begging. A few leap into the sea, preferring water's mercy to yours. And then, as suddenly as it began, it ends. The deck is wreckage, bodies sprawled, blood pooled, sails torn. Two ships lashed together by claws and corpses. Burke rips his axe free from a man's skull and breathes hard. Kite perches on the rail, humming like nothing happened. Morrow writes, pen scratching the number of dead. Your captain raises his blade, dripping, and growls one word: claim. The enemy ship, what remains of it, is now yours. The spoils are not riches, mostly rot, rust, ragged cloth. But food, yes, barrels intact, grain not yet spoiled, enough to make men cheer through broken teeth. The rat scurries aboard the conquered ship first, as if blessing the prize. You almost salute it. Night comes, and with it silence. The sea smooths again, as if amused by your violence. The stars return, pitiless. You sit on the deck, coin in your palm, hands trembling too much to hold food. You survived, but survival has a taste now. Iron, smoke, and something you cannot name. Loot does not glitter tonight. It thuds. Barrels rolled, chests dragged, sacks dragged again when the first drag fails. Spoils arrive like work. The enemy deck is a ledger of consequences. Splinters everywhere. Black powder bloom in the seams. 3 lengths of railing missing where the sea took its tax. Men move through smoke that has grown bored of being dramatic. Borders off lines, Burke rasps. His voice is a rope burned by too many storms. The grapnels are cut loose one by one. The ships relax apart by a single sigh of water. Not freedom, truce. You are sent to the prize's hold with a lantern that remembers fire imperfectly. The ladder greets your shins like a debt collector. Below, the air is old soup, bilge, pitch, wet sack, onions losing the argument with time. You count what you find because that is the only prayer the quartermaster understands. Barrels of grain, 3 burst, 5 sound, 2 casks of beer that still sing when you knock them, a crate of wigs, grey powdered nests that earned a groan from the men and a grin from Kite, who tries one on and bows to the rats. Bales of cloth, rough but dry where it matters. You shout the list up. Morrow writes it down. He writes everything down. Souls, shot, scars, sins, ink spatters, numbers, behave. On the main deck, the surgeon has made a country out of lamplight and vinegar. He rules it with a saw in one hand and a strip of linen in the other. Hold him, he says, and 4 men become furniture. A scream lifts into the rigging and hangs there, undecided whether to turn into a ghost. Your captain visits the wounded only with his eyes. He gives them a nod, measured in inches. He gives Burke a longer one. Orders follow in low sentences. Prisoners to larboard. Officers separate. Water first, rum later. Mercy by sequence, not sentiment. Kite struts the prize's quarterdeck in a powdered wig, bare feet black with tar, humming the same one-line song. He bows when he passes you, the wig sliding over one ear like a tired moon. Your lordship, he says to your bent coin when you check it. If it pleases the court, we keep breathing. The quartermaster reads the articles aloud, because that is how men are fed hope before food. Shares by rule, compensation for wounds, prize to be divided in port. The crew listens with the hush they save for storms and arithmetic. The word port lands soft tonight, like a promise rehearsed by a liar who wants to believe himself. Burke oversees the transfer. Grain first. Men relay sack to sack, deck to deck, shoulders to splinters, splinters to curses. Beer next. The casks complain in round vowels and settle into your hold like stubborn saints. Kite escorts a crate of scented soap with a duelist's solemnity. He claims it is powder for cannons of virtue. Prisoners are herded forward. Some stare at the planks because the sky is too honest. Some stare at the captain as if will alone could murder. One asks for water with hands open. He receives it. Gratitude makes him look briefly expensive. The rat chooses now to cross from prize to ship along a fallen yard, a little admiral inspecting both fleets. Counts as witness, Kite declares. No one argues. Food arrives like a rumor that finally got bold. Cook opens a barrel and grunts approval. Onions roll out, wrinkled but alive. Men cheer in a language that requires few teeth. Hardtack from the prize is only half worms. Progress. The first pot of stew becomes a sermon. onion, a desultory handful of grain, a strip of salted meat that remembers being animal, water that has forgiven worse. It is not good. It is better than yesterday. You cradle your cup and feel heat climb back into your hands like courage. Morrow makes the wound roll. A shilling for a cut that will leave a story, 2 for a limb surrendered, nothing for pride misplaced. He reads names. Men answer if they can. He notes when they cannot. The ledger accepts each line without sighing. The captain inspects the prize's cabin. He emerges with charts, a silver-mounted spyglass, and 3 letters with wax that has chosen the deck over the seal. He says nothing about the letters, nothing about the spyglass. He passes the charts to Morrow and the silence to everyone. Roland finds you by the long gun. He sits with careful knees and a blade across them like a polite dog. You still have your head, he says. Burke kept it on for me, you answer. Roland's mouth does a thing that would be a smile if it believed in itself. Learn to keep your own, he says, gentler than the words. Night deepens. Stars tack across the black, bright nails hammered into nothing. The sea resumes its old employment, cradle and grave. Lanterns breathe. Men do too, in longer lengths. Then the muttering begins, quiet as mice, sharp as hooks. The chest looked lighter. Quartermaster's hands look heavier. Shares in port? Which port? Suspicion is a rope that looks like safety until you lean on it. Burke hears in the way dogs hear thunder before we do. He prowls, boots knocking truth out of planks, rope end dangling like a patient threat. Men drop their voices a deck lower. The whispers duck and put on work coats. The captain gives a ration of rum, measured and mean. To health, he says without raising his cup. No one says the obvious. Health is expensive. They drink like men, paying down a debt in sips. From the prize, Kite returns with the fiddle that has 1 string and too much confidence. He coaxes out a tune that sounds like a memory of music. It eases splinters out of the air. Men don't sing. They permit their shoulders to drop a finger's width. Cook passes the last of the stew. He reserves 1 onion near round for the surgeon. Medicine, someone jokes. Wiser than prayer, the surgeon says, tying a boy's bandage with a knot that could hold a mast. Morrow closes the ledger for the night. Click of board, slide of strap, a book going to sleep full and unhappy. He sits on it like a hen. The quartermaster keeps the key because faith, aboard ship, needs hardware. You find a corner of deck that remembers being dry and lie back. Your coin presses into your thigh with the comforting cruelty of habit. The rat chooses your boot as a border and sits like a carved saint, washing its face. You offer it a crumb of hardtack. It weighs theology, accepts, and scurries off to spread the gospel. Tomorrow we trim and mend, Burke announces to no one and everyone Then we move. The crew hears work and for the moment prefers it to thinking. Dawn arrives the color of old pewter. The prize rides astern under prize crew and stitched canvas, sulky but obedient. The wind has the courtesy to remember its job. Repairs begin. Needles bite sailcloth, palms thicken another layer of scar, pitch bubbles in the caulker's pots, and paints black lines across the ship where water used to gossip. Blocks are re-rove, sheets mended, braces sorted from lies. The ship slowly rediscovers her own shape. Work buys quiet until midday, when quiet weakens. A coil of rumor slips its pin again. Small, mean, sticky. Captain kept the spyglass. Captain always keeps the best. Articles say, men invoke the articles the way shore folk invoke saints, loudly, selectively. The captain calls the crew midships as the bell marks 4. He has the spyglass in his hand because weather is easier to command when men can see it. He sets it beside him in plain view, a sermon without words. By the articles, he says, voice trimmed short as rope on a belaying pin. Officers hold instruments, crew hold shares. We'll see port for division. Until then, water and bread by list, wounded by double measure. Dispute goes to the board. He glances at Morrow. Read the names. Morrow reads. Wounded first, faces flinch at their own names. Others lift when a friend earns extra water. Justice by gallon is still justice. The deck breathes. A knot loosens that no one will admit tying. Then, as always, a contrary wind. A man near the pump snorts, low but carrying. Shares now, not promised. He doesn't raise a knife. He raises his chin. It is braver and more foolish. Burke's rope end speaks a fast sentence across the man's shoulders. Articles, Burke says, not loud. The word lands like iron. The man plucks breath back between his teeth and finds a better use for it. Order survives the minute. That is enough. Order aboard is always a series of minutes, stacked carefully. Afternoon's work smells of tar and onion, and the less poetic end of beer. Kite's fiddle soars at the wind until the wind takes the hint and fills the foretopsail with an approving belly. Roland teaches a powder monkey to coil a line that has humiliated better men. The boy learns, fails, learns, grins. Some futures are small and perfect. The surgeon sleeps sitting up, mouth open, hands clean by stubbornness. You envy him that kind of forgetting. You do not try it yet. Near sundown, the prize crew signals. A cask brined wrong, leaking at the head. Burke sends you with 2 others. You cross by a plank that notices every wave. Boots sworn to the wood by will alone. The cask is saved by new hoops and old swearing. A thumb of beer goes missing where no one can testify. Back aboard, The captain checks the horizon the way a priest checks a face, looking for weather and sin. Nothing but distance answers. He seems satisfied with that sermon. Night again. Rum again, short. The wind has chosen a direction and is, for once, faithful. Men eat stew that remembers onions clearly and meat faintly. They call it victory anyway. The quartermaster, calmer now, sits beside the secured chest and tells a story about a port where the tavern floor slopes toward the door so that sailors roll out at daybreak like barrels. Laughter finds a way aboard. It never asks permission. You polish nothing. You sharpen nothing. You lay your knife where your hand will remember it in the dark. You press your coin to your thigh and accept the bruise as a signature. The ship settles. Planks speak in their old tongue of strain and agreement. Rigging hums a note that sounds like tomorrow. You answer with breath. Spoils have been taken. Scars have been earned. The sea, merciless accountant, balances both. For one more night, the book shows you in the black. Victory never tastes the way you imagine. It sours quick, like beer gone thin. And once the barrels are stacked and the wounded bound, the real trouble begins. The ship smells of stew and blood and tar. Men eat fast, afraid the food might vanish if they blink. Some even smile, but underneath, the air shifts. Suspicion grows teeth. It starts small, a grumble about shares, a complaint about who hold more, who bled more, who deserves more. The articles are supposed to settle this. Rules carved sharper than swords. But rules are only strong until hunger chews through them. Morrow keeps the ledger on his lap like a holy book. He records injuries, deaths, spoils, every detail that makes the chaos sound like math. Men glare at him when he writes, as if ink were theft. Burke prowls. He knows the sound of rebellion before it learns to walk. His whip hums like a hymn, waiting for a choir. One snap across the deck is enough to remind men how fast skin parts. Still, eyes linger too long on the prize chest. Kite makes it worse. Of course he does. He plays his broken fiddle, a screeching tune that slides between harmony and insult. He sings his one-line songs about shares for the bold and rum for the clever. The men laugh, but the laughter cuts both ways. The rat joins the performance. It trots across the deck carrying a crumb twice its size. Some cheer it, some curse it. The animal has become a kind of mascot, a reminder that survival favors the shameless. One night, the quarrel turns sharp. A sailor shoves another over a biscuit. The second man answers with a knife. Steel flashes, blood follows, and the deck becomes courtroom and grave at once. Burke arrives before the second cut. His whip cracks, then his fist. Both men collapse into silence louder than thunder. Next man to question shares, he growls, answers with his back. No one volunteers. But silence does not mean peace. It means waiting. Morrow notes the incident without raising his head. 2 names added, 1 wound each. Ledger balanced, crew not. He dips his quill again, unbothered by the stink of blood. You wonder if he has grown immune to human smell. The captain calls no counsel. He says nothing about treasure or promises. Instead, he orders more work, patching sails, scraping barnacles, rearming the guns. The cure for mutiny, apparently, is exhaustion. You climb the rigging until your hands bleed. The ropes feel rougher now, as if they too sense tension. Above, kite swings like a mad pendulum, laughing into the wind. Better the rope for climbing, he shouts, than for hanging. Men below mutter, jokes have edges. At night, the sea is too calm. Lanterns sway with boredom instead of storm. Men whisper louder. Voices travel in the dark. One name repeats more than others, the captain's. Roland sits with you by the bow. He sharpens his blade with care, each stroke loud in the quiet. Men forget storms faster than hunger, he says. Keep your coin close. It may buy you a day when voices rise. The next day, a prisoner dies, not by blade, but by thirst. Too little water, too long in chains. The body is slid into the sea without prayer, but the crew watches and whispers. If prisoners can be starved, why not them? Morrow writes the death in his ledger, no detail spared. You see men glance at the book with hatred. Ink feels crueler than blade. By the 4th day after boarding, cracks show clear. Men gather in knots, hushed but sharp. They count their cuts, their bruises, their shares not yet seen. They speak of ports they'll never reach if the captain hoards all. Burke breaks 1 knot with a lash that opens a man's back like cloth. But 3 more knots form before the blood even dries. Discipline is not enough. Fear fades faster than hunger. You cling to small comforts. Your coin, warm in your palm. The rat, bold as ever, stealing from Morrow's ink-stained boot. Even Kite's madness, sharp but familiar. That night, thunder rolls without rain. The crew looks upward, half hoping for storm, half fearing it. Anything would be better than silence. The captain finally speaks. 1 sentence, delivered mid-deck, loud enough for the sea itself. Shares in port? Discipline until then. Anyone who doubts, step forward. No one does. But doubt remains, pacing below deck, like a rat looking for grain. Kite bows from the rigging, wig crooked, fiddle screeching. He plays until laughter spreads thin and nervous. The crack in the crew does not close. It only waits for the right wave to split it wide. And you keep working, keep bleeding, keep pressing the coin into your thigh until the bruise becomes a creed. You tell yourself, not yet, always, Not yet. Morning comes with no birds, no breeze, no omen of favor. Just a flat sky and a flat sea, like the world itself has tired of movement. The ship creaks too loudly in the stillness. Men stir slow, eyes rimmed red from hunger and unrest. The last spoils of bread have gone stale. The beer thins to a sour trickle. Work is done with curses instead of songs. Morrow keeps writing. His quill scratches even when no one speaks. The ledger bulges with numbers, shares promised, wounds tallied, deaths inked in thin black lines. Men glare at it like it's a rival, a treasure chest they will never see opened. Burke prowls, whip in hand, boots pounding the planks like judgment. He shouts at a powder monkey for moving too slow, at a sailor for spitting the wrong way, at the wind itself for failing to blow. But his fury no longer lands the way it once did. Fear has dulled, worn down by hunger, sharper than rope ends. Kite makes it worse, as always. He plays his fiddle with strings that shriek, sings his one-line jests about captains fat on silence, and shares that weigh less than a biscuit. The men laugh, but it's not joy. It's agreement dressed in nervous sound. The captain watches from the quarterdeck, silent. His eyes follow everything, but his mouth offers nothing. The silence becomes heavier than commands, heavier than storms. By noon, the spark arrives, a scrap of salted pork stolen from a barrel already near empty. One man accuses another, a fist flies, then another. Knives flash before the argument even has words. The fight spreads fast, oil across fire. Men crash into barrels, blood streaks across rope. A bottle shatters against a skull. 2 pistols fire, smoke choking the deck. Burke storms in roaring, whip-cracking skulls and backs alike. His voice booms like thunder, but even thunder cannot quiet the chaos. Discipline strains, rope fraying against the tide. Morrow shouts numbers, trying to cage madness in arithmetic. 2 wounded, 3 fighting, 1 shot wasted. No one listens. His ink bleeds down the page, smudged with someone else's blood. The captain finally moves. 1 step down from the quarterdeck, pistol raised. He fires into the air. The crack freezes men mid-blow, smoke curling above them like a warning flag. Enough, he says. 1 word, heavy as cannon shot. The deck goes still. The mutineer with the pork still clutches it, knuckles white, eyes burning with something too old for fear. The captain's gaze pins him, then sweeps the crew. You'll eat what is given. You'll wait for your shares, or you'll feed the sea instead. His silence returns after, sharper than the pistol crack. Men scatter back to work, but the spark does not die. It hides, waits. Every glance feels like conspiracy now. Every whisper sounds like knives being sharpened. That night, the air hangs heavy. Rum is poured, but no songs follow. Dice stay in pockets, knives stay closer to hands. The rat scurries boldly across the deck, unchallenged. Even superstition has given up pretending luck can help. You lie awake in your hammock, listening. Breaths too loud, snoring too false. The creak of planks like whispers beneath your head. The coin presses into your thigh, warm from your palm, the only anchor you trust. The next day dawns no brighter. Clouds bruise the horizon, but bring no rain. The ship sulks forward on thin wind. Work continues, but sloppier. Lines hauled wrong, sails trimmed late. Whether by hunger or intent, the ship itself begins to stumble. Burke bellows until his voice cracks, lashing until his arm trembles. Still, men move slower. At breakfast, the biscuit crumbles in your fist, more dust than bread. A man mutters, "Silver don't fill bellies." Another answers, "Nor silence." Neither whispers. The words carry. The captain says nothing. Morrow writes faster. Kite strums harder, grinning too wide, and the crew feels it. The shift, the edge between order and chaos. By dusk, you know the fuse is lit. The air tastes different, coppery, like the storm before lightning. Men glance at each other as if measuring enemies instead of brothers. Knives are sharpened longer, cleaned twice. Roland sits near you, blade across his lap. He says quietly, "When it comes, you'll have to choose." He doesn't tell you which side, only that the choice will arrive. Night deepens, the stars refuse to shine, the sea holds its breath, and the ship becomes a powder keg, waiting for one more spark. Dogwatch finds the ship pretending to be calm. Lanterns wear hoods, shadows squat under the rail, even the wind seems to tiptoe. Men gather in knots that are not watches and not crews. Dice appear, then don't roll. Knives appear, then don't shine. Whispers do both. Burke patrols the waist with the whip looped, not swinging. His eyes do the striking now. He is hoarse from a day spent shouting sense at men who preferred hunger to arithmetic. Morrow sets his ledger on a coil and writes by lantern smear. Numbers crowd the page, rations owed, shares promised, powder spent, tempers due. His hand is steady, his breathing isn't. Paper does not fear knives. Paper also does not stop them. Kite sits cross-legged on the forehatch, fiddle on one knee, bow tapping rhythm without sound. He grins like a secret that would rather be a fire. Storm in the ribs, he hums, too soft to carry unless you want to hear it. You do. The captain stands at the break of the quarterdeck, hat brim low, hands folded behind him, as if he could handcuff his own temper. He has said exactly 7 words since dawn. None of them were comfort. Your coin warms under your touch. a foolish anchor, but yours. Roland slides beside you, sword across his lap, posture like a gate with a hinge that will not squeak. When it starts, he says, end it in front of you. Don't watch the whole deck. Live small. Small keeps you alive. Small keeps you choosing. The spark chooses its hour between the first and second bells when the sky is most undecided. Gareth steps into the lantern light by the mainmast. His cheek is sunken where hunger has chewed. His eyes are new bright steel. Around him collects a halo of men who have practiced looking like coincidence. Shares, he says. He does not shout. He does not need to. The word is a rope thrown into dark water. Hands reach before they know they're reaching. The quartermaster straightens, ledger hugged to his ribs. In port, he recites, by the articles. A chorus of tired laughter greets the catechism. In which port? Someone calls. The one that keeps stepping away? Bread, Gareth adds. Bread before brass. A murmur answers. The murmur learns a rhythm. The rhythm learns teeth. Burke moves, whip unlooping, with a whisper sharpened by use. The captain descends one step. Silence puddles around his boots. Back to work, he says. 3 words. Enough when men want to obey. Not enough now. Bran the one-eyed shoves to Gareth's shoulder, knife already naked. He is broader than the argument, hungrier than the rule. Now, he says, or we open the chest and count with our own fingers. His knife winks. The chest's lock seems suddenly very small. Morrow's quill pauses in the air like a gull remembering gravity. By law. Law for men with bellies, someone spits. The deck shifts. No wave, just weight changing sides. You feel it in your ankles, then your teeth. Burke cracks the whip once, not at flesh, but at the night itself. The sound startles a prayer out of 3 men and a curse out of 5. He points the rope end at Gareth. Stand down. Gareth's jaw tightens. He does not move. Kite's bow whispers across string. A single thin note blades through the quiet. Storm in the dash. Shut it, bird, Burke snaps, eyes never leaving the knife. Kite smiles wider, which is not helpful. Roland rises without fuss, placing himself just off your shoulder, where he can be a wall that still breathes. Small, he says again, so softly the word rides your pulse instead of your ear. Then the part every story pretends to be surprised by. Steel meets policy. Bran lunges. Burke steps and turns. The whip wraps Bran's wrist like a live thing and bites. Bran yelps, drops the knife, catches it with the other hand, and laughs, because pain has stopped being interesting. Knives answer knives. Not many. Enough. You draw yours because your hand knows when a deck chooses violence, the the way a dog knows rain. The captain's pistol lifts. One shot into planks, a splintered warning. Order, he says, not louder, heavier. The word lands and sits like iron. For a heartbeat, the ship remembers she is wood and not rumor. Order fed us hunger, Gareth replies, voice steady as a beam. He raises his knife to the ledger, not the man. Articles won't keep a man upright. That ledger kept you alive last storm, Morrow says. It will again. It didn't keep Kit from the sea, someone mutters. Kit, a name cut short by a wave you all remember. The deck hisses, grief repurposed as permission. Movement at the edge. 2 hands fumble at the chest's lock. Burke turns. 3 men turn with him. 3 more turn on them. The quiet cracks. You don't see who strikes first. You see what happens after. Rope end. A scream. Knife. A red thought on a forearm. Belaying pin. A skull learns the deck from too close. Hold your line, Burke roars, but no line remains, only circles, closing and breaking, closing and breaking. Mutiny does not march, it eddies. It finds ankles, knees, minds. It makes men smaller until they fit the shape of rage. Roland pulls you when a blade hunts your ribs. Your knife answers with a short, rude sentence. The blade reconsiders and belongs to the deck instead. Small, Roland reminds, breathing like bellows. You nod and make your world only as wide as your feet. The quartermaster, white with fury, closes his book and draws a pistol he was not supposed to have. He aims between legs and fires, not a man, a message. The ball kicks a hole in the plank, and in the moment, both smoke. Back, he cries, voice breaking. No one backs. Kite drops from the foremast on a halyard, boots first into a shoulder that had plans. He lands laughing and somersaults clear, whistle trilling a sailor's call no one obeys. Storm in the ribs. Bird, I swear. Burke snarls, then loses the rest to a fist that mistakes him for policy. The captain steps forward, one deliberate pace. He holsters the pistol he has just spent and draws his cutlass very slowly, the way a man announces he is tired of choosing mercy. This ends now, he says. Or it ends with me, Gareth answers, and for a heartbeat, you can see both truths. Then, salvation or doom, another bell. From the bow, high and frantic. Set. The lookout starts, voice cracked with distance. The second syllable is swallowed by the ship herself, racing to hear it. S-A-I-L. The word snatches every eye and flings it outward. Knives pause in air, breaths stall. The night grows a new shape where horizon should be. Low, dark, wrong. The captain does not look at the mutineers again. He lifts his sword toward the black bulk sliding closer. Choose later, he says, voice bright steel. Guns, now. The ship answers before men do. Blocks squeal, tackles leap to hands. The habit of survival outruns the fashion of rebellion. Burke, panting, snaps the whip into a tidy noose and is already bellowing crews to stations. Starboard battery, run out, powder in hand, slow match. His fury finds its old channel and flows there like flood. Morrow throws the ledger to a safe shadow and becomes hands and powder in order. He counts aloud because numbers are courage if you say them fast enough. 5, 10, 15. Count shot, not men. Burke growls, and Morrow nods, grateful to love something simple. Gareth hesitates, knife still out, shoulders heaving. Around him, the men who followed him find themselves holding tools for a different argument. He looks at the dark hull, and the lanterns curtain low, and the gun ports already open like hungry mouths. He closes his knife. Later, he tells Mutiny, or himself. You cannot tell which. Kite scrambles aloft with his usual insane grace, shouting distances he guesses with confidence. 8 cables, 7 and a vanity. Speak sense, Burke snaps. I never learned the word, Kite sings, and drops 2 coils of spare line exactly where they will be needed. Roland claps your shoulder once. Small is easy now, he says, and his grin is all bone. You run with him to the starboard trucks. The gun captain, scar like a letter across his cheek, has already made your world even smaller. Worm, sponge, charge, wad, shot. You become the steps, because the steps are life. The approaching ship grows a voice. Creak, murmur, low command. No flag shows. That is its flag. A shadow passes across the moon and refuses to give it back. Powder smoke licks from its ports in little test breaths. You taste treacle and thunder in the air. Steady, the captain calls, and the helmsman obeys with hands that suddenly cannot remember how to shake. The bow pays off a whisper. The angle sweetens. By sections, your gun captain says, calm as a priest at a fire. Wait the roll. All around you, men who are ready to kill each other rediscover the precision with which they prefer to kill strangers. Powder monkeys scuttle, faces lamp black, eyes enormous. Rammers set, thumbs press vents, matches kiss touch holes, and then hold. Work is prayer. Prayer is work. Far forward, the quartermaster posts 2 men at the treasure chest without looking toward it. A ritual, not a protection. He meets Gareth's eye across the smoke and gives a tiny nod that says, not now, not never, later. Gareth returns it with the smallest shrug invented. Contracts are sometimes written in gestures. Range, Burke barks. Near enough to smell their cook, Kite calls, audibly delighted. Shut his mouth and open yours. the gun captain mutters to your crew. On the lift, now. Your gun speaks. The deck hammers your boots. The carriage bucks. Smoke makes a private night and invites you into it without kindness. A heartbeat later, splinters leap from the enemy's rail like gulls reconsidering flight. Men shout there. You do not listen. Listening is a luxury. Run her out, you haul. Warm, you scour. Sponge. Steam coughs. Charge. Weight slides home like a sentence that ends correctly. Wad. Shot. Wad. Home. The rhythm is not poetry. It is survival wearing meter. Return fire answers, a fist the size of a barrel. It rips a plank, and the air above it tears a man off the tackles and leaves his name to the sea. No one says his name. Names are for later. Amid the crash, a quieter thing happens. Mutiny folds itself like a black flag in a chest. Not surrendered? Stored? You can feel it. A heat saved for another meal. For now, men become the older thing the sea requires. One crew. The captain's voice floats over the smoke like a mast that refuses to break. Hold. Hold. Give her a bite. Fire. Broadsides stagger the night. Light writes its short book across faces you will never read again. The smell of powder becomes the whole air. Your lungs learn to call it wind. Roland reloads beside you with a grace better suited to a ballroom. Later, he says again, and you understand. It is a promise of a fight postponed, not cancelled. Your coin bruises your thigh with agreement, not yet. Somewhere to starboard, kite whoops a note that might be triumph or terror. With him, the difference is a luxury of daylight. Hook is ready, Burke bellows. Hook's ready, comes back. A dozen throats making one answer. Not to board, yet. To control the angle. To keep the enemy where your iron speaks best. The enemy bears down. Lantern still hooded. Gun ports bright and hungry. A voice across the water shouts. Something in a language made of orders and smoke. The sea shudders, interested. Stand by to, the captain begins, and you do not hear the rest, because a round shot the size of a grudge punches the world into splinters where your feet were a blink ago. You hit the planks, breath gone, eyes full of stars. That forgot night belongs to them. Roland's hand holds you upright. Small, he says. Yes, you manage, and find your post, and find your breath, and find that you have not yet lost your coin. Behind you, the quartermaster shouts, counts, powder left, shot left, men left. Each number is a shorter story than the one before. Burke answers with more verbs than math. Run, haul, fire. Both languages keep a ship alive. Boarders to stations, the captain calls at last, and the pitch of the deck changes from thunder to teeth. Hooks climb into hands. Pistols are primed by fingers that remember the motions better than prayers. Knives settle into palms like old arguments. Across the narrowing gap, you see faces, wide-eyed, soot-masked, human. Enemies only because someone rang a bell. Brothers only because yours rang first. The sea does not care which. It cares that you keep moving. Ready, your gun captain sings, and you understand that the next shout will pull you over the line between almost and always. The ship seems to draw breath with you. So does the night. Somewhere aft, Kite laughs like a hinge as he swings down with a grapnel in one hand and his bow in the other, lunacy in both. Morrow tucks the ledger under a tarpaulin, as if numbers too deserve a dry grave. Burke rolls his shoulder, tests the whip, spits, grins at death with cracked teeth. Roland loosens his wrist the way courts teach, not seize, and sets his blade where it will begin correctly. The captain raises his sword. Bored. The word bites. You move because the word says, you live if you move. The gap becomes a decision you do not have time to regret. The enemy deck rises, your feet choose it. The night closes its book behind you and opens another. And with that, the black flag within is folded for later, while the black hole without demands all your breath. Whatever judgment the ship had for itself can wait. This one will be rendered in iron. The enemy deck greets you like a fist, slippery, crowded, already smeared with smoke. Your boots skid, but your knife does not. Men crash together in knots of fury. Pistols bark at breath's distance. Blades ring on blades, then sink where wood will not stop them. The smell is powder and blood and pitch, all poured into one breath that never leaves your lungs. Roland fights beside you, steady as a post hammered into the tide. Every stroke of his sword is exact, measured, inevitable. Kite swings down from somewhere above, laughing as his boots flatten a man who thought he had time to reload. Morrow clings to the prize rail, ledger forgotten, pistol awkward in his hand, but fired anyway. Even Burke bleeds, but roars like the wound is a rumor, not a fact. The captain drives forward, cutlass carving a path as if the air itself had insulted him. His voice is a bell in the smoke, iron, steady, unafraid. Forward, and forward you go, because backward does not exist. The enemy fights like men who know this is the only deck they will ever stand on. They give nothing for free. Every inch costs sweat, breath, blood. Their captain falls last, shoulders pressed to his mast, pistol spent, cutlass ringing once more before Roland's blade finds him. He slides down the wood like a note struck flat. Then silence, thick and sticky, the kind that trembles because it isn't finished. Our crew stands panting. Hands shake as they grip hilts and pistols. The prize is ours. Grain, rum, coin, canvas enough to patch our own ragged sails, but the cost is scattered across planks and hammocks, names never to be called again. The sea slaps against both hulls as if impatient. Work begins at once, bodies cleared, sails trimmed, powder counted. The living carry the dead because the ship has no room for both. You stand at the rail, coin in hand, bent, small, absurd. It presses against your thigh, reminding you that survival is not luck, not skill, just the stubborn refusal to let go. The captain wipes his blade clean, voice raw but steady. This ship sails forward, he says, and no one argues. Congratulations, you've woken on a pirate ship and chosen to remain, not for glory, not for legend, for the strange, stubborn craft of survival, the practice that turns storms into work and fear into a task list. In the morning, if morning is kind, there will be shares and stitches and sails to mend. There will be hunger measured and anger deferred. There will be wind that accepts you without praise, and a horizon that keeps its promise by staying put until you reach it. For now, the ledger closes on a line that balances alive.